Live, powered by.
Unlock your horizons with our payments and collections, vehicle and asset financing, unsecured bid bonds, and so much more.
Right. Jeff Koinange Live, powered by Stanbic Bank. Now, hear this. As the best SME bank in all of Africa, it is not business as usual at Stanbic Bank. We're fueling business growth with a simplified banking experience, trade finance solutions, and working capital. Loans at Stanbic are also at low percentages. We pride ourselves in providing innovative solutions that keep your business current and up to date, while keeping your staff protected with a wide range of insurance solutions. Get out front to competitive rates for foreign exchange trading with real-time market intelligence and research as well. Unlock new horizons for your business growth with Stanbic Bank today. Stanbic Bank, your business partner for growth. Governor Johnson Sakaja is in the house. Chilled, relaxed. Thanks again for your time.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's really great.
Let's go. Let's move that way.
You know,
before the break, I said he was murdered, but allegedly, I take that back. Allegedly.
Jeff, first of all, allow me to offer my deepest condolences to all Catholic faithful in the country on the passing of the Pope. And all the activities that are then following the tradition of the Catholic Church will soon have a new Pope.
Yeah. Are you Catholic?
No, I'm not Catholic. But I respect the faith. I go to many Catholic churches. Of course, one of them said they'll return our offerings, but I believe in the Holy Catholic. I recite the Apostles' Creed. But secondly, and importantly, and as you mentioned, allow me to pass my deepest and sincere condolences to the people of Kariobangi North. We lost a member of County Assembly, Joel Munuve, who was Kimanzi, who was MCA for Kariobangi North. He collapsed at home. I don't know why you call it murder. I don't know. Maybe you have information, but the autopsy is tomorrow at 8 a.m. And we've asked for a full investigation to understand what happened. Because I don't think he had a history of illness, but we'll let the professionals tell us. Death is a serious thing. Death is not something that we can, play with or politicize. He was very firm, and he was very passionate about the issues he believed in. And there are times we disagreed, but then also there are times we agreed. We sat down, we had meetings, and I really wish, I spoke to his brother this morning. His brother is called John Kimanzi. I've spoken to him again this evening. I know they're doing the autopsy, and we'll support the family. But all this is in the hands of God. But what we want, to allay all this, whatever political speculations could be there or whatever it is a full investigation into what happened to Mheshimiwa. Yeah.
And if something happens and the finger is pointed at certain individuals, will you all take action, or you just leave it to police and investigators and all that?
We have agencies in this country that are charged with those responsibilities, and I think they should do their work. We have the police, we have our government pathologist. I think we'll also have an independent one. There are processes in this country that work, and they must work. Because if it was foul play, there must be justice. Yeah. And really, I believe in the right of everyone to be who they are. And no one should ever think that any kind of dissent would be met with any form of violence. And so just to allay those fears and those rumors, full investigation must be done. The brother was distraught when we spoke to him. He told me he felt confused. He doesn't know what's going on. He's a bit more calm this evening, And really, you can never feel the pain of someone who's lost someone.
Yeah, true.
You can't.
True.
You can't. And we really wish them the best. I know the family, the wife and the child are traveling from Namibia. They're going to be coming in. But that's life. All of us are going.
At some point.
And it's God who decides when we go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Governor, let's switch gears here. While you were away,
yes,
the heavens opened up.
They're still open.
It seemed like every other day there was flooding in your city.
Yeah.
Is it the drainage? Is it mismanagement? Because now potholes are everywhere, man. I can't remember how many times I had to change my tires.
On your G-Wagon?
Imagine.
Oh, no.
Bro. But anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, okay.
And people died, by the way. People were swept away by the floods.
Yeah. Across the country, we've had that problem. Across the region, actually, not just Kenya. And if you look at the issues, even the issues we were discussing last week of climate change, the sheer amount of rain that is coming down is higher than ever before. And a lot of our drains were designed for a smaller capacity of a seasonal rain in the city. And so we got our green army. We have 3,800 youth who collect the garbage, remove the blockages, and they're doing a good job. They're doing a good job. But for real, we need to expand in some areas and look at the cost of it vis-a-vis, what you call an event that doesn't happen so often, And you see what happens. And an example I'll give you is Ojijo Road and Kipande Road in Parklands. There was always flooding there. Complete, terrible flooding. And I took a walk and I went there. Ojijo Road has a 1.2 meter drainage. When they did Thika Road, that's Kenha, did Thika Road and all that, they created that 1.2 meter drainage. It connects to a 0.6 meter drainage on Ojijo Road. And so science will tell you there'll be a backlog. And I implored upon Kenya, why don't you guys complete your job and add another 0.6 on Ojijo? On Kipande, sorry. To date, it doesn't flood. And so there are many of those fixes that we must keep doing, and we keep doing as a county. But, at the end of it, it's why you've seen governors, and you had the Right Honorable Prime Minister talking about the Road Maintenance Levy Fund. The resources to sort these things out are still held by the national government. And we said, look, the road maintenance levy, you pay for it. I think you pay a lot because of your car.
Yes.
Because everyone who buys fuel pays
a levy.
The levy is to fix roads.
Yes.
In our country, we have two categories of roads mainly. There's also international, but two categories. There's national roads and county roads. County roads are more than 65% of all the roads. But all that money goes to only national roads. So the road I was talking about intervening, Ojijo Kipande, is under the national government. Jogo Road, Agwin Square, all this under Kura, Kera. And so when I heard, and I was away when I heard the former Prime Minister saying that, look, all these agencies should be under counties. Why is the Kenya Rural Roads Authority doing roads in the CBD of Nairobi? It's not rural,
Yeah.
And so that discussion must be had. And I know we have a matter in court because the resources to sort that out, we know what needs to be done. We've started with the engineers. I've started with the engineers board. I've started with our engineers in the city who are very competent. But the resources that are needed to expand that drainage are what must come to counties as right. So there's 10.5 billion that has not been held. It was frozen by the courts that should sort out that issue. And so I didn't shirk my responsibility because I had complaints about Mombasa Road, Uhuru Highway. That is not even, it's an international road. It's not under my purview. Jogo Road, Juja Road. I was here the other day in Hurlingham. And I went to the minister and I asked the president, please support us. And I'm very happy that for Nairobi, we've agreed on an arrangement. And right now we're going to do, once the rain subside, of course, because you can't do asphalt when it's raining. 2.6 billion worth of road works are going to be done in the city, across the city. And the Constitution and the Urban Areas and Cities Act envisages a special arrangement between Nairobi as the capital city and the national government. And so there's an arrangement that we want to use based on that to sort out many of these roads that would otherwise be ignored. You know, and I've told you before, if you give a member of parliament who should do oversight, legislation, and representation, the work to also do roads, the allocation of roads will be political. So the member, I don't use examples, but a member would assign roads to a place with a higher population. So none will do your roads in Karen, none will do your roads in Westlands, none will do your roads in Jogo Road, a road that traverses many constituencies, none will touch. Yeah. And that's why it must be under the governors, and that's what we're saying, under county governments, and that's why we have devolution. In the meantime, and you see these agencies, Kura and Kera and Kenha, were all formed before devolution. They were formed before we devolved governments. They were formed before even that designation of national and county roads. So many of these roads and many of the complaints I get, and I still send my people, are not roads under our purview. But we still have to do it. National government.
That's national.
National.
They've done a horrible job.
I don't want to blame them, but you know what we did? I went there with the CS Churcher, all the way from ABC Place. We went all the way to Machakos County, under the expressway.
Yeah, downstairs.
There were two contractors. From just before ABC Place to Ole Sereni, there was one company, and from Ole Sereni down to Mlolongo, another company. And the one before, because of our discussions, has been removed, and they've got another company. But you see, it's under the purview, they have the budget, they have the money, but the blame is the governor. The
governor, it's your city. Look, the other thing that...
it's not, it's your city, it's all our city, it's not... but at least there's progress there. And let me tell you, our president has done something amazing.
Other than this Chapati thing?
They've securitized road maintenance levy fund, because there are many instruments financially you can use. And so a lot of the pending bills that were there, you know, the viaduct coming on Haile Selassie, the roads that CRBC had been doing in Nairobi, a lot of what NMS had started that are national projects are now being funded. And so in a few months, let the rain subside in June, mid-June, you'll see a big change.
You can promise Kenyans that?
I can promise Nairobians that. I can promise Kenyans that. Because it's actual discussions we've been having. You know, let me tell you, Jeff, there's no governor in this country who doesn't want all his roads fixed. Why? We also drive on the roads, you know, and we live in the cities, and we know the impact of doing them. We want it done, but let's also have the right proper governance structure and financing to the right place. You're paying, for every time you fuel up, Jeff, you pay money for roads. But 60% of the roads you pay for are not being factored in. Is that fair?
It's ridiculous.
It's not fair.
It's ridiculous.
So I mean, I can't assume what the courts will judge, but I hope, because it makes sense, you know, that it should be distributed equitably based on the responsibilities in the Constitution.
Okay, tell me something. Some roads in neighborhoods, they've been flooding for the last 3 weeks. Probably the water still on it hasn't drained away.
Yeah.
What are you doing about that? Because that's then county roads.
Like which one?
Kilimani.
Where?
What do you mean where?
Which road has flooded in Kilimani, Jeff? Name one.
Okay, from Dennis Pitt to Olengroine, right? Towards James Gishuru.
Yes, it's a Kura road, but the issue has been the car wash that has been next over there. You know, there have been blockings to keep the water, and we've removed that. We've removed that. Yeah. But the road is under the purview of that agency I'm talking about. It's not a county road.
So you feel, are your hands tied? Do you feel sometimes?
No, I feel devolution is something that develops and keeps growing, you know. And we've reached a point that counties that now have the capacity. You know, I have more than 150 engineers in the city. Possibly I have more capacity than the national government engineers. Possibly, you know, because of the sheer number. Artisans and the guys who can do it. But the resources must follow functions. The first law of devolution, Jeff, because devolution is based on the principle of subsidiarity. The first law of it is that financing must follow the functions. So it's revenue assignment, your revenue capabilities, chapter 12 of our constitution, says this is what the national government can raise, this is what the county can raise. The fourth schedule says this is what you must do, this is what they must do. Then you cost that and say, okay, from what you can raise and what you can do, this is the gap that must be filled. That is a gap that is left in devolution in Kenya, you know. So of course, if it floods, I will not say, okay, that's a national road, I'll not do anything. I've sent my engineers there. Today, my engineers were on Jogo Road. Jogo Lane has been flooding, you know. My friend Benjamin sent me a message yesterday. I saw it. I have a disaster, you know, group where I see real time what's happening. And I keep sending them helter-skelter, even to roads that are not under our purview, you know, because we must do it. Nairobians don't care whose road it is under.
They don't.
They don't care.
No.
When it's in Nairobi, they'll say it's the governor. But understand the predicament we're in. That this is a road that has been financed. It is under a different level of government. They have money for it. In fact, they have what we call performance-based contractors who are meant to maintain those roads.
Tell me something. Why do some of your critics say that Nairobi was much better under NMS and General Badi?
Because they're critics. That's why they say that. If you're a critic, you must criticize.
Do you think you have done better in your 2 years and 8 months?
Of course. Because let me tell you, those are huge falsehood. It was a lot of PR. Because let me tell you, they left me with 16 billion pending bills in 2 years. 16 billion pending bills. Which I have to pay. A lot of what looked like was being done was not paid for. And that's why I'm saying the resourcing of the functions is as important as the function being assigned. How do you have a pending bill of 16 billion in 2 years? Remember, Nairobi County government in those 2 years under NMS gave 27 billion shillings, real money, not budget, money, to NMS. The national government also did projects. They did Uhuru Park, part of it, which also has a pending bill. They did Central Park. They did some of the hospitals and AMREF and whatnot. But still, despite the 27 billion we've sent you, still handling payroll as a county, you leave a bill of 16 billion. So it looks good, but it's superficial, it's fake.
How's that going to be resolved? We
agreed with the Auditor General that all of the bills incurred under NMS must be paid by the national government. Because Article 187 that envisages the transfer of function says that while the constitutional responsibility stays with the level of government sending it to another level, it must be paid by the level that has taken it. Because you've come up with projects that are not in our budget, they're in the national government budget, passed by the National Assembly. Why should Nairobians pay for that? You know why? So all of that 16 billion, I think it's now possibly come down to 14 or 13, will be paid on the executive office of the president, and we will take them up once they've cleared those certificates. So, I mean, it looks good, but it's all about financing. Let me tell you, and I keep telling you how much we've raised revenue. You know, we've raised higher than NMS did. The highest they did was 8.7 or something, or 10 billion possibly. In my first year, I surpassed it. In the last year, I did 12.8 billion. This year, my target is 20. I have 2.5 months left. Already hit more than 11.5 so billion. But even having done that, Nairobi needs close to 100 or 60 billion to sort out all of these problems. And so the financing structure of the capital city, which was envisaged by those who did our constitution, must be relooked at. It must be. And secondly, because I've done ads in the papers, I've seen today Kisumu has done, other counties are doing, the biggest revenue earner in a city is property taxes. You have all those other markets, parking, business permit, etc., which I'll speak about if you give me a chance. But it's property taxes. Nairobi has 250,000 parcels of land. Do you know how many accounts they are paying rates? 50,000.
50,000?
50,000 accounts on Nairobi Pay.
Out of?
A few might have 2 or 3 parcels, but they can't have. So the things you're asking about, it's 50,000 accounts carrying that burden on their shoulder. And so that is why, and I'm very happy the National Assembly passed the Rating Act, that I now have the power to enforce. I gave people a waiver, a grace period. I extended it until the end of this month to pay your rates. If you have a piece of land, now I have all the data of all of those 250,000 parcels. I know who is not on our database. And the law, if you look at Section 19 of the Rating Act, and reading from Section 17 coming down to 19, if you have an apartment block and you're not paying taxes, your rates, I can collect rent, or put it under receivership, or auction it. Because why are we letting a few people? It's not equitable. Carry the burden for all of us. Nairobians want services. That's all they want. They want a clean city. They want water. We've made progress on water. We've added 140 million liters per day. We made progress on water, but it's not enough. There's still a gap. Because we receive 525 million liters a day, we need 900. So we've added 140. I'm really struggling to do 220, which we can do with Maragua 4 and Northern Collector 2. But Nairobians Nairobi is a service county, you know?
Yeah.
You want medicine in hospitals. But someone has to pay for it. So why would we then complain without playing our part, you know?
Okay, speaking of wavering, or I think you used that word.
It's a grace period. This year there's no waiver. By the way, there's no waiver on rates.
At all?
There is no waiver. No.
If they don't pay...
Because it's unfair on the person who actually pays on time. Somebody has paid on time, you must pay by March. Somebody has paid on time, he has no penalty. You wait and say, I know Sakaja will issue a waiver. There's no waiver. And we're going to enforce. You know, we'll clamp your buildings. If we have to, we'll collect rent on your behalf. We'll auction your property based on the value that you agreed on the valuation rule. And remember, Nairobi is the only county with an updated valuation rule in East Africa.
Okay.
The rest are in the 1980s. So let's
40 years.
Yeah, let's just pay our part.
Not too long ago, you had this dispute with KPLC.
Yes, because they have to pay also.
How much do they owe you?
Oh my goodness, they owe us around 4.8 billion. We owe them...
Since when?
Since
before your time?
Yes, before my time. It's old. It's an old debt because of way-leaves, you know. And the law talks about the way-leaves owed to counties. And they're doing two things. There's the way-leaves for power connection. The Energy Act 2019 then said, from 2019, they said that if you're to charge public energy infrastructure, you must get permission from the minister. Something I think is not legal, but anyway, it's a law. But all the bills before that, because no law acts retroactively or retrospectively, you know. But then there's something they're also doing now. There are people who used to pay us as a county to put fiber. They'd put fiber cables and they'd pay way-leaves for the counties. Now they have said, put it on our poles because we are not paying the county, pay us. And they're not paying that's a commercial enterprise. That is not energy infrastructure. That's a commercial enterprise, you know.
Is that where you
So that's why if you walk outside here, Jeff, you will see a yellow cable, red, a green one, a blue one.
Yeah, you don't know which is which.
All this GTL, Safaricom, who not, and so they announce profits. They need to pay their part, you know.
Is that why you dumped a whole truck full of sewage right in front of KPLC headquarters? I
didn't. And I reprimanded the officers who did that. That was not right. We reprimanded. We addressed that. I think that was completely wrong. It should not have been done. The building can be clamped, yes. The law tells us, actually in that same act that I've read, that for any defaulter, you can cut off county services, which include water and sewer, you know, and we cut off the water, because, look, we as a county, they claimed we owed them 3 billion. I said, okay, let's do a review. You know, let's do, an analysis of that, a reconciliation. It moved from 3 billion to 1.5 billion, Jeff. Because everything must have a meter, must have an account. And they both parties signed off. We found accounts in Turkana, the Nairobi County had been paying for. We found accounts in Kisii, in Kiambu, butcheries, businesses, that the city council and county government from the first one to the second one to the had been paying for. And I said, look, first remove those. It moved from 3 billion to 1.5, both have signed off. And I told them, okay, let's do a payment, because I acknowledge the debt. But of course, I have to break it down. And we said, we'll pay you this amount every month on top of our current debt. There's no current debt that we've not paid. The current we always pay. So we said, okay, now that is done, you owe me 5.8 billion. What's up?
Yeah.
You also need to pay. Because it cannot be...
Have they paid, by the way?
No.
To this day?
Not a shilling. Not a shilling. Because it cannot be that you want counties to operate without resources. We're not magicians, Jeff. And then I wish I was. I just do tap. That road is tarmac. It's money.
Wave the wand.
So the same way we pay them for the service they offer us, they need to pay us for the service we offer them. You know? And so we amicably resolved it. We sat down with the Minister for Energy, great man, Opi Wandai, Engineer Siror, the MD, who had gone to, in December, and I told him, my friend, because they are cut off power at City Hall. City Hall has no debt. This debt that I'm talking about of 1.5 is street lights. Street lights are a national security issue. If today they cut off all the street lights, Jeff, we will not have security in the city.
They could use solar panels.
Who are they?
Whoever is putting up these lights.
We put them up. The infrastructural cost of putting solar, Jeff,
Yeah.
it's big.
But at the end,
we're looking at it on a PPP basis. But for now, so why would you switch off City Hall, whose meter has no bill, for a street light in Karen? Why is it in the tariff that we pay, there's a rural electrification component, and it's in the city? There must be equity. There must be equity. So yes, my officers went overboard, and I apologize to Kenyans, because that is wrong. Your city should never do that to you. There's public health concerns. You know, that was completely terrible, and I suspended those officers. They're going through disciplinary processes. But ultimately, let everyone pay what they need to pay, you know. I mean, I don't use the lights at City Hall for my house. It's not my house. It's not, I'm not doing anything personal there. We're actually working for Nairobians. And so in December, I went and saw the MD and told him, boss, when you cut off that building, which has no debt, you cut it off because of now will be jolted, or you cut off hospitals with ICU, with machines, with life support. You cut it off because of a streetlight debt. What are you doing? We're government. If I said I'll pay you this every month and it delays because National Exchequer money delays. Counties have only received money until February. We're in April. You know? Let us all be just good people to each other.
Speaking of April, you are 4 months away before your third year in office.
Yes.
What's been the most challenging thing?
The most challenging thing being in office. First of all, let me tell you, this is the biggest honor of my life, serving the city I love and that I was born in. As a Nairobian, it's the most difficult but most fulfilling job I've ever done. When you see the smiles on the faces of patients receiving healthcare, there's a story of a man, 91 years old. We opened the first public eye hospital in Kenya, public. You know, we have Lions and Kikuyu. Those are not public. Those are one is a church, another one is a club. You know, that Lions Club. There was this man, 91-year-old, who had been blind for 50 years. 50 years, blind.
Completely. I mean, just
blind. He regained his sight at Umoja 2 Annex, Mama Lucy. And he said he is not leaving the hospital. Because if he leaves, itaisha. You know? And then he started joking. He's telling his son, Kume, you're not this handsome. I thought you're more handsome. But that's just one story. Today, if you go there, it is full of people from all across the country coming to get... It's a full... I mean, we admit patients. They sleep there. We do surgeries. We manufacture spectacles. What we've done in healthcare. Nairobi had no ICU before I became governor. I opened 8 theaters in Mama Lucy 2 weeks ago. Pumwani has a neonatal ICU, pediatric. Mbagathi, the first neonatal ICU, is there. The strides we've made, and because I changed the governance structure, you see most of our hospitals across the country are led by, and I have a lot of respect for doctors, but they're led by doctors, a medical superintendent, who is in charge of the hospital until level 5. I said, no, let's have CEOs. Someone who looks at the entire, from the gate, how does the place look like, how customer service, the supply chain issues, HR issues, the medical issues. Is there broken? What are the beds? So I got 5 CEOs. Mbagathi Hospital, I put Alex Irungu. He was hired competitively. He's transformed the place. Mbagathi, I have Martin Alfred Wekesa. Mama Lucy, Martin Alfred Wekesa. Superb job. Started the eye hospital in Umoja 2 Annex. Pumwani, Dr. Christine Kiteshuo. I think she has a PhD in hospital management. Mutwini, Frederick Obwanda. Just changing the governance structure alone and changing the boards without adding a shilling. Just governance has made a huge change. We have a small issue. I have an issue with the lower levels that we're working on now with SHA because of now, the supply chain issues, the drugs, etc., and we'll solve it. But that is an example of how leadership changes and transforms a place.
Speaking of drugs or medicines, there are some of those lower hospitals, level 2, level 3, level 4.
Yeah.
People have issues with getting the right medicine.
It's a problem across the country. It's something we've discussed at the summit at COG with the president. Because yes, KEMSA is owed money and agreed on a payment period, plan. But look, we owe KEMSA now, I think, 200 million. But NHIF owes us 800 million. I said, Simukate huko, give us the change. Because how do you want us to pay for KEMSA, yet we are paying based on the returns from NHIF, Yeah. And so that balancing will be done within government.
Okay.
And that is a major issue with the hospitals.
Again, I'll come back to the question I asked you, and you gave me a whole list of your successes, which is...
I've not yet given...
I know there's more.
Yeah.
Biggest one challenge, the biggest thing that kept you up at night.
In Nairobi, is the resourcing of the city.
It's resourcing.
That's the biggest challenge. Jeff, I'm in a class of 40 mayors and governors across the world, Bloomberg Harvard. In that class, I'm the only one from Africa in this cohort. It's the 8th cohort of the Bloomberg Harvard Mayors Governors Program. I sit with colleagues, and I can give you examples. Mayor Colorado Springs, Yemi, and tells me, look, he has a budget of $600 million US.
US
what,
dollars?
600 million? So how many
times 130?
How many people do you have? 100,000 people. I have 7 million people with less than half of that budget. The financing of devolution, and I'm very happy, broad-based, the agreement said 450. But our own source revenue collection must go up. We have the potential to collect 60 billion, but everyone must pay up. And so when you enforce, someone sent me a message today, and I really laughed and asked him, surely. Because at one point he says, please help us solve this issue of the road here. Governor, we believe in you, etc. Then he says, you've increased rates in Karen from 7,000 to 25,000. 25,000 a year for an acre. If you're renting it out, you're getting 300,000 a month, and you want services. There must be a balance. Something's got to give.
All right, Governor.
We're the only city in the world, capital, that charges rates on undeveloped site value. That is why 1 acre in Githogoro, which is an informal settlement, is paying the same as an acre in Runda. It should not be the case. And so this next valuation round, let us pay for value. And let me tell you, I know my people in Nairobi. If they see the services, they see the streetlights, they see I was in Karen the other day and they're like, look, you've sorted out our roundabout. There used to be hawkers and matatus and a lot of that, and you've given them a space and you've put I Love Karen, and now we're willing. It makes sense. You're giving us services, we're seeing streetlights. You did Ngong Road from that place up until Junction. Once we give services, because it's about services, we collect money to serve. Not for any other reason. That's why we collect the money.
Governor, I want to take a break, come back, talk about a stinking city.
Which one?
This one.
No.
Garbage everywhere. You're in denial now.
I'm not. Denial is a river that starts from Lake Victoria.
Ends up in Egypt.
Ends up in Egypt.
Yes.
We'll discuss that, and I'll tell you the plan we have. We have Green Nairobi Limited.
Yeah. Who is okay? Yeah.
Because you must sort out the governance structure and ring fencing the money.
Perfect.
Yes.
Governor Bay, that's the other thing they call you.
That's Monica's.
What a conversation, folks. This is in real time, and I know you have your questions and comments for Governor Johnson Sakaja. What are you waiting for, folks? Sakaja Johnson, Paula. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JK Live. JK Live takes a break with a dimple man.
I know. Who is that?
We'll